Okay, in this one I'm going to show you the getrandom syscall. So if you've ever needed a randomness in a program, you've obviously used srand to seed your random function and use the rand function to generate a random number. Of course, the obvious disadvantage of this is that your random numbers are the same each time since you have the same seeds. And so what I would usually do before is that I would just open dev random like so, ORD only. Close it later. I will have a seed which is an int, and then I will read from dev random into the seed with the size of seed like so. And I would use seed as my generator like so. But it turns out that in newer, I think 2017, it said the man page, there is a syscall called getrandom, which basically does the same thing. So you can pass it a seed, you pass it the size of, well, you pass it a buffer that you want to fill with random bytes, you give it the size of this buffer, and then there are some flags, which I will explain later. But now we can remove the whole file thing, and it's exactly the same. And so by default, getrandom uses dev urandom. So if you don't know, there is yeah, there is a oh, cannot do this, I guess. But there is a there is dev random and there is dev urandom. For the longest time, I believed that urandom meant like unsigned, and you would get only unsigned bytes, like if you treat them as a char. But yeah, now I realize that this was kind of a stupid assumption. I think I just assumed that like 5 years ago when I was a student and stuck with it. But U stands for unblocked. And so what happens is that when your system starts, there is what they call an entropy pool, which means that they're, I don't know, grabbing randomness from all kinds of events. I'm guessing like if you move your mouse, or I'm guessing more generally if there is some peripheral input, or I don't know, any kind of randomness that comes from the real world. They try to pull it into the computer and create cryptographically secure randomness from that. And the original dev random was blocking. So if you try to read from this file, but this entropy pool wasn't ready, it would actually block your read until it was like cryptographically secure. And so they introduced after this dev urandom, U for unblocked, which means that if you read at the start when your computer boots and there isn't enough entropy yet, it will still return something to you, but it will not return something that is considered safe by the kernel. And so anyway, this getrandom syscall was apparently introduced because in some scenario when, for example, I don't know, like when you change root or stuff like that, you sometimes don't have a /dev random, but you still need randomness. And so in those cases, you can use the getrandom syscall. Also, I mean, on my side, the very shallow use case for this is that it's just prettier and I don't have to handle an extra file descriptor, which is well, it's a silly reason, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, by the way, you can modify getrandom with the flags. So by default, it uses urandom, but you can make it use random with this flag. You can also make it non-blocking with this flag. And as far as I understood, I mean, besides what everything I said in this video, I think if you go in man7 random, I read that 10 minutes ago, but apparently I already forgot. Apparently in the very like 6 dot something version of the kernel, apparently dev random and dev urandom are the same. Or maybe they're the same only in the cryptographic sense and not in the blocking sense. I am unsure on that. But anyway, food for thought. Hey, anyway, there is this cool syscall, and yeah, next time you need to seed your program or you need some you're doing some cryptographic stuff, feel free to use it, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.